All right, we're live. Welcome back, everyone, to another Billy. I got Wale with me. What's good, Wale? Welcome back, guys. I mean, I don't know, man. I know we're talking a little bit about how the market was doing today. Software is getting hammered. I feel like there's a rotation happening in the market, but just to kind of give you guys a quick recap, S&P 500 kind of like was down, trading as, it hasn't really done a lot of stuff today. NASDAQ got hammered today. Dow Jones also was a little, it didn't do too bad, but it still got hammered also. Russell 2000, same thing. I feel like the investors now and traders actually in general, everybody's being cautious because there's a lot of mixed expectations. Plus, we have the earnings season going on, so everybody kind of like maybe like tighten up on what stock they're looking into and all that stuff. But overall, man, today has been the past couple of days has been like a mix of sentiments. Like we see stocks that report earnings good, they go up maybe like pre-market, and then the market opens and they just sell off. So again, we're just seeing a lot of mixed trading and investing going on. So let me get your feedback, man, especially this earnings season, bro. Like I feel like we've seen some good numbers. It's just sell-off is happening. And I know we talked about this before. Like when a company start doing good, investor expectation goes a lot higher. So if your
Mhm.
numbers, even if you do your numbers is great, if you don't hit the expectation they're thinking, they're just gonna sell off immediately. So let's talk a little bit about that, man.
Yeah, so I really think that the bar is just really high for some of these stocks because going into this year, a lot of these stocks have had tremendous returns.
Right.
So now I think investors are trying to find more bang for their buck at this point, in my opinion, right? So if you look at some of the stocks that are leading this year, and we'll get into one later, but go look at Costco, go look at Walmart, and go look at Dollar General, right? These are retail stocks that, you know, are consumer friendly stocks that probably have, better valuations than some of these tech stocks that have ran over the last couple of months.
Hmm.
I think Walmart is up, what, 14%, while the whole market is up only, what, less than a percent, if that.
Yep.
Dollar General is up 14%. And I also, who did I say? Dollar General. Costco is up, I think, at
Costco.
14%.
The
So
other
there
ones
could,
too. The other ones is like Nike's up too.
oh, Nike.
Starbucks is up. So some of those stocks that got beat up really bad last year
So it
are,
could, I agree with you that there could be a rotation. Now, how long will this rotation last? Does it mean that tech stocks are bad business moving forward? I don't think so. But understand portfolio managers look at value, right? Okay, if
right.
I've gotten a good amount of value out of this stock over the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, I have to take profits at some time, right? I'm managing other people's money. Then I got to rotate that money into other areas of the market that may not have done well. And I think that's what we're seeing.
Right. Right.
Again, like some of these numbers from these companies, we're going to go over a few, have been really, really good, right? Like Planeteer reported yesterday. Those earnings are really good. The stock was up. Then the stock sold off today, right? So, it's a mixed bag. As an investor, you just got to be patient. As a trader, you just got to really just start picking your spots. And I think we got the VIX up to 20 at one point today.
Hmm.
It kind of died down into the end of the session, but yeah, this is just the time to see where the inflows are starting to move, and maybe rotate some of your assets, your long-term assets, into those areas. Emerging markets are still doing really well. So
Right.
that's another thing that just I think it again, sector rotation is just happening right now. So
Yeah, and again, it's just part of the business, right? So, I think I agree with you. Like, we don't know how long this is going to last. It might be a short-term rotations where, let's run this up a little bit, get some money out of it, and then let's put pressure on some of those AI stocks, let them go back down to like a specific level, and then get back in and buy them again. So there's definitely a lot of pressure going on some of those names. The other thing that I want to talk about is like, or do you have any numbers you want to talk about when it comes to the earnings? Like, is there specific ones you want to kind of touch base on?
yeah, so I got my notes here, and let's start with AMD, who is a big player in the AI space when it comes to chips. I will say that they are the JV of AI chips, while NVIDIA is the varsity team. So let's look at these numbers from AMD. So fourth quarter beat on adjusted EPS and revenue of $10.27 billion, but stock fell pretty
Mm-hmm.
dramatically, over 15%, due to, I think, just profit taking, extremely high expectations as well. And it says that they had 390 million in one-time China related revenue. Now, one
Mm.
of the things that I will say is this, and I don't know what's going on. So Nvidia is, I guess, one of the key players in this whole can we sell chips to China, and they need US approval. And I think right now the US is going through the approval process. What if the US is like, okay, well, we don't want to sell China our best chips. Maybe we sell AMD chips to them instead.
Mm.
That's an interesting thing, right? I'm not going to send you my all-star player to to play against the JV team. If I don't want my opponent to get an advantage, I'm not going to be sending my best players overseas.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I send them AMD chips. I don't know. That's just a theory. We'll see. But they said it was a one-time 390 million that came through from China. Um, Q1 guidance 9.8 billion, which was slightly above consensus, but it just says that people are questioning whether they can compete with Nvidia. And if you want to be in the business of AI chips, Nvidia is where you want to be. So they had a pretty rough day today. Google,
Yeah.
Google, $2.82 on EPS, which was a beat, 113.8 billion in revenue. Google Cloud revenue grew 48% year over year, which is way better than what Microsoft reported last week. The stock was kind of flat after hours, but one of the things that investors are a little bit wary of is their 2026 capital expenditures, 175 to 185 billion dollars in capital infrastructure spending. That's a lot of money.
Yeesh.
It's a lot of money. So, and that might have made investors nervous, which is why they're trying to assess what's going to happen tomorrow. But the big boys are still spending money. We saw Meta say the same thing last week. We saw Microsoft say the same thing. We'll have to wait and see what Amazon says. So the big boys are still spending money at a ridiculous clip.
Mm-hmm.
We got Qualcomm. Qualcomm beat on revenue and on EPS. So pretty good beats. $12.25 billion in revenue, $3.50 dollars on EPS. They were expecting 3.39. Shares dropped after hours because of disappointing Q1 guidance for this year. So therefore, the stock got punished. So we're seeing
That's
something
crazy.
this
Yeah.
this year. If you give bad guidance, you're going to get punished. Like
Yep.
you will be punished if you give bad guidance. All
Absolutely.
right. So ARM, another one that came through. We've got a revenue beat and an EPS beat. Again, good numbers from the previous quarters. Stock reaction, 10% drop. So guidance for next quarter probably did not really see as um, guidance was not something that people were very, very happy about. And then also it says licensing revenue missed expectations. And it says valuation was already reflected in their aggressive AI growth. So they still have good businesses that they're in, AI, data center, smartphones, and edge devices. But right now the stock is being punished because again, the guidance is not something people are getting really, really excited about at this point.
Yep.
Uber missed on EPS and revenue was up 20% year over year, 13.5 or $14.3 billion. Stock fell in the after hours, then was up in the after hours, and then fell again about 5%. It says gross bookings will guide was 52.75 billion, but EPS was below expectations. So strong gross bookings growth and expanded adjusted EBITDA, but there are pressures on margins and competitive dynamics that investors did not necessarily like. So that stock sold off today. Eli Lilly is now a $1 trillion company. Congratulations to them for their drugs on weight loss that are doing exceptional numbers. So big beat on EPS, big beat on revenue. Stock was up around 9% today. 2026 guidance about 80 to 83 billion dollars in revenue and EPS of 33 to $35 per share. Yeah, it says Monjaro and Zepbound sales over the last year grew 100%.
Hey, bro, people out here on the weight loss stuff.
100% growth in
Yo,
their weight loss drugs.
that is ridiculous.
So that's what is driving. Now, if you look at Nuvo Nordic, their stock was down pretty substantially today because they play in the same sandbox with Eli Lilly. So, and that brings us lastly to PayPal. Miss on
Mm.
EPS and miss on expected revenue. Stock plunged about 20% after earnings. CEO got canned after a couple years ago when he was on CNBC. These were his words. We're going to shock the world.
Yeah, you really did.
And y'all did. And he got canned, and they're looking for a leadership change. But it looks like Apple Pay and Google Pay are taking away business from PayPal. And
Mhm.
PayPal has been in this e-commerce slash, fintech space for quite some time. They're a very mature company. And I
Yep.
think if you look at them, they haven't really evolved as a business.
Mm-mm.
Because if you look at like Square, you can do crypto, you can almost set up a bank account in Square. I mean, not Square, Cash App, right?
Cash App. Yep.
Yeah, Venmo, is almost like a bank account at this point. And PayPal hasn't really, what has PayPal done has helped them evolve? Nothing,
Nothing.
nothing.
They haven't really done any advance in terms of
No.
they almost remind me of the whole IBM situation we talked
Mm-hmm.
about,
Mm-hmm.
where they are the first in that industry. They're one of the few companies that were able to offer a service at the time when people were like, how does this work? Right? I do have a plan for them though, if they're willing to listen. I think they will be able to bring themselves back. But overall,
Make
I
some
think
phone calls.
they definitely missed out big time on an industry that they could have been like the most powerful players in it. You know what I mean?
Damn.
So,
Because they were kind of the first, you said it, the first players in this kind of whole payment system
yep,
place. Yeah.
yep,
And
yep.
they have, I get, all they do is send me information about credit card and all this stuff. I'm like, bro, I just need y'all to process payments. But
That's it.
you look at Cash App, you can buy stocks on Cash App, you can buy crypto on Cash App. You can,
Hmm.
they have kind of evolved over time, and PayPal has not really. Someone told me that PayPal needs to get into the prediction markets.
Hey, in a prediction market, or honestly, there is a market that's being ignored right now, which is the African market when it comes to money transaction stuff.
Mm,
If you look at the African market, there are some companies here that are very small that are able to help you like do transaction across seas, able to transaction with different countries and stuff. But I think PayPal might be, if they're willing to listen, I think they can go into the market and partner up with some of those fintech companies that's actually, whether it be in Nigeria or South Africa, whatever, partner up with those companies that help them be able to like expand beyond Africa. I think they will be able to revive their business. But other than that, I think in the US, they'll have to figure out a whole different ways to regain that traction again. Because
hmm.
I honestly think they missed it. I really, really think they missed it. You know,
Yeah.
if I was them, you should have done a partner with Google. You should have done a partner with Apple all this time. They should have been running on your engine to do transaction for them.
Mhm.
But you missed out on that.
Yeah. So that goes on to tell you, we've seen these stories a few times. If you don't evolve with the times, you get left
You
behind.
got
And
left
PayPal
behind.
looks like it has been left behind. And we will see if new leadership will be the catalyst that kind of changes the stock around. So we'll see. But yeah, not a good sign for PayPal at all.
No, I'm seeing them going back to what did they hit a low of 41 today? 4103, I think. Yep.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
nasty looking chart. That's a
yeah,
nasty looking chart.
they're going down to the 30s. They're going down to the 30s. So
Yeah, we shall see. Let me look at this. I just want to look at the 1 year chart of PayPal and just kind of look at.
yeah, they broke to that consolidation of January 2023, 2024, and 2025. They broke to that consolidation.
Yeah, this stock hit a high of what, 93.66 back in 2024. Had
Mhm.
a rough 2025 and just now broke the low of 2025. So this business has been it's been on the downside for quite some time.
Dude, but look at that 2020, 2021, 2020 numbers. I mean, they were almost $300. Crazy.
Oh wow. I didn't go that far back. Let's see.
What, a high of $310.
Wow, $310 in 2021.
Yep. So they're pretty much are going back to their 2017, maybe even 2016 numbers, if they can hit that 30s.
Oh wow. Imagine
Yeah.
buying imagine buying that stock at like
At the
200,
top.
thinking you're getting a bargain.
That's why it's important to do research.
Very important to do research. Very important.
But I do want to talk a little bit about some of those other numbers with, AMD, Google, ARM, and all that stuff. I think one of the most important thing, I think I talked a little bit about it last week, like the adoption when it comes to AI, we're seeing that even though AI is proven to be like, it's much needed tool in the industry that we're in, the world that we're in right now, the rate of adoption is kind of slowing down when it comes to like companies actually fully adopting to it. I think that I mentioned the financial institutions where it's hard for them to adapt to AI as quickly as they want because there's so much regulation there, right? Even though there's a need for it, there's a lot of regulation when it comes to AI in that area. The other thing also, the healthcare industry. It's a lot more rigid. It's a big, slow giant that's move a lot slower when it comes to that world. So even that adoption AI has been a little bit slow in that area also. So we are seeing some kind of like a slowdown. I mean, eventually it's going to catch up. And I think that's why we kind of see like a little low guidance from those companies because the adoption rate is not as fast as they thought it's going to be. So how is that going to impact the next 2, 3 years? Maybe this year, I don't know, but it's like AI has proven that there's a need for it, but the rate of adoption is kind of like slowing down a little bit in some sectors, not in all sectors. So I think we're just gonna kind of keep playing it by ear and see exactly where we're gonna end up this year. So, but yeah, I just want to give that uh quick tidbit over there so people can kind of like understand like this is not a bubble, this is not one of those things. We're just talking about like business. There is a slowdown when it comes to adoption rate and all that stuff.
Gotcha. Gotcha. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, again, I think you've said this countless times. You need to find out what is your use case for AI, right?
Hmm.
What can you consistently use this thing for? And if you can't find a consistent use case, the question then becomes, is it worth the long-term investment? Because it's not
Yep.
cheap.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yep.
I
Yep.
agree with you 100%.
And like I said, eventually AI will have to move from B2B to B2C.
Hmm.
The first company to figure that out, I think they're gonna make a lot of money. You know what I mean? But eventually you do need to move from B2B to B2C because B2C, which is business to consumers, that's over 1 billion people. So it's like even if you get half of those people to adopt some type of service that you're offering, imagine that. I mean, think
Hmm.
about it with Google. When Google first came out, like people search Google like crazy. Like Google just known as like, just go Google it, not go search for it in the search engine, is Google it. And you know exactly what that means, right? So there needs to be a company that figure out how to get people to be like, let me go chat GPT or let me go Claude it, whatever it is that the term that's going to come out of there. But there's going to be a term that's going to come out from people actually just using this one service. Because you got to think about it. Even when Google was around, we had Yahoo, we have Netscape, we
Netscape, yeah.
had, I mean, we had so many other search engines, but everybody seemed to gravitate through Google, right? So there has to be some type of consolidation that's going to come, and there's always going to be one hero that rises out of that. Who's that going to be? I have no idea, but it's like you just got to kind of keep track of that.
Another thing too, I think that Google has done a really good job of integrating Gemini in the Google search engine.
Hmm.
That's a cheat code. That's a
Yes.
cheat code.
Yes.
So that's something that to me, when I when I look at the AI players, at the bottom of my list is Copilot. Copilot
Hmm.
to me is at the bottom of the list, at the way bottom of the list. I've
Yep.
stopped using it now because I just can't
Yep.
stand it anymore. I think Gemini is one. I think ChatGPT is a close second.
Yep.
Claude and Anthropic and Perplexity, I'm not too familiar with those, but the ones that have the coding ability, those ones I think are gonna help revolutionize a
Yep.
lot of different roles. Because I know people who use them who are engineers, and they said
Hmm.
it's really good.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, we'll see. But I think those tools are gonna continue to grow. But I think that
Yep.
Microsoft's Copilot, I think that thing's gonna fall off. That's my prediction. Because
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
to me, it's the worst. It's the worst AI tool. The
Yeah.
worst.
Unless you have like the Microsoft suite, nobody's ever going to be like, I'm going to use Copilot to do
No.
something. You know what I
Mm-mm.
mean? Like you
Nope.
have to have the whole Microsoft suite. It just comes up as part of the suite. It makes it
Correct.
easier to search within their Outlook, be able to organize your email, be able to write off stuff.
Correct. Yep.
But
That's
outside
it.
of that,
Outside of that, nope.
yes.
Trash.
Now I'm glad you mentioned Claude. Claude is actually becoming really, really big among not just engineers, but as regular everyday
Hmm.
because it's almost they call it like code vibing, right? Code vibing just is a term that people use now for like I can code a website, I can code an application just by typing in prompts, right? Just by having a conversation with Claude, and Claude is able to build this thing for me just by me having a conversation with it. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So ChatGPT is although it's great, it doesn't really build your site for you. It could give you markup, it can give
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
code, it can give you
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
instruction on how to do it. Claude actually builds it for you,
Wow.
you know. So Claude is actually it's you guys are gonna hear a lot more about it. It's actually climbing that rank now, where it's becoming one of the go-to for now for engineers, but I think it's pouring over to regular people. So again, like I said, the company is gonna find out how to connect better with the consumers when it comes to when it comes to AI and all that stuff, and be able to find like a good use case. That's the company that's actually gonna be able to take advantage of this AI revolution.
Got
But
you. Got you.
again, the noise starting to die down a little bit, you know, you can kind of feel it a little bit. The noise kind of started to die down. Now it's more like, okay, can you prove your viability as a company, not as a technology, the AI. The AI technology has proven that it needs to be there. But as a company, can you prove that you're needed? You can't prove you're needed, guess what? You're out of here. So you know what I mean? We've seen this so many times with different companies and stuff.
Yeah.
Let's talk about SpaceX and this XAI, man. It's like this deal just it's crazy. I'm like, how do you buy your own company using your own company? It's just like for me, it's like this is the most craziest deal ever. It's kind of like that whole Twitter deal that happened where Elon was able to buy Twitter basically using his company to buy it. It just he has a way of just making those deals is just like crazy. But
He's a
again,
he's a very creative financier.
very, very creative. I don't know. Either that or he has a really, really good team. You know what I mean? He has a really, really good team. But let's talk about that too, man. And then we talk also about the IPOs coming up. Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? I'm not sure. So let's talk a little bit about that also and see what you found.
So for me, the way I see it is, I think he's trying to bolster the valuation of the companies, and I also think that the companies are probably losing money. I think that that's also something that we don't know for sure. But when you IPO, you got to start showing your cards.
Yep.
So we'll see what that looks like. But they're talking about taking SpaceX and then merging SpaceX with Tesla. So
Mhm.
all of his companies are going to be one big company. I was talking to a friend of mine who's a Tesla shareholder, and he's like, Elon's trying to kind of build this ecosystem, right? Of just kind of putting everything in one system because
Mhm.
he said it himself. He said years from now, you're going to forget Tesla ever made cars. So I'm assuming the pivot is going to be in autonomous robots, Starlink, government contracts, right? Because SpaceX biggest customer is the government,
Mhm.
which I think is a risky business, in my
Very,
opinion.
very.
I'm not saying that companies can't do well and have the government as their clients because you've got the defense companies are big government contractors. Planeteer is a big government contractor. So how they're going to diversify their revenue away from that, I don't know. Because my question is, who else needs space stuff outside of the government? And the
Yeah,
government's not going to
yeah.
let you sell stuff to China or Russia, right?
Right.
So I don't really know. We'll see how that works out. But I really think that he's trying to bolster up the valuation of these companies because I'm pretty sure the cash burn on some of these companies is pretty high. So I don't know. That's something that I would have to be very cautious of if I want to be an early investor in the IPO. I need to see those numbers. Tosin says this is also supported by discontinuation of Model S and X. Yeah, so no more Model S, no more Model X, just going to be Model 3, I guess Cybertruck and Model Y. But yeah, we'll see,
Mhm.
man. We'll see.
Yeah.
But he's got some pretty high ambitions. I wanted to go back to PayPal, though. I think one of the things I wanted to discuss was as an investor, this is what I always tell people, pay attention to what's going on in the business, right?
Hmm.
So PayPal dropped 20% today. Billy mentioned that PayPal has been on the decline since 2021. As an investor, could there have been signs that you could have looked at to have told you the business could be in trouble?
Hmm.
And let's take a look. So I did some research on PayPal, and this is one of the biggest obvious things that happened to PayPal that could have given you a signal that this business was not going to do well. Technical analysis is good to use as a trader, but it's not always good to use as an investor because as an investor, what matters most is the core business.
Yeah.
So listen to this. Fiscal year 2021 revenue growth for PayPal was 18.26%. 2022, that dropped all the way down to 8.46. So revenue growth dropped by 10%. Then revenue growth dropped in 2023. Revenue growth dropped in 2024. Revenue growth dropped in 2025. 5 consecutive years of revenue declining growth. That is a number one red flag in any business because as an investor, what are you paying for? You're paying for future growth. So if you see a business that is not growing, and that has happened in 5 consecutive fiscal years, to me, 2 consecutive fiscal years is a red flag, especially dropping from 18% growth to 8%. That's a pretty substantial drop. That's the number one red flag for PayPal that investors could have saw and been like, you know what? I'm getting out of this.
Hmm.
Gross margin compression. Gross margins fell in 2021 from 47% down to 40.41% in 23 and 24. So pricing pressure, competition, those things were an issue. And again, we're not just looking at one bad quarter, we're looking at a trend. So as you start to see gross margins dropping, pricing power and competitive competition is getting more hard, that's a sign that something is wrong with the core business.
Hmm.
Earnings, you look at the earnings and people will be like, well, net income was good in 2025 compared to 2024, but how did PayPal manipulate their earnings? Buybacks.
Hmm.
Buying back stock was manipulating their earnings. Um, free cash flow, operating cash flow was something that dropped, right? So we look at fiscal year 2024 and fiscal year 2025, we saw operating cash flow drop, which is so this is another thing that I want to tell investors. I posted this on my Instagram page. EPS, you can manipulate EPS. You can
Mm.
really manipulate EPS based on a couple things. Buybacks is one way for people to manipulate EPS or net earnings. But one thing you can't manipulate is cash flow. You can't
Hmm.
manipulate cash flow. So operating cash flow dropped by $1 billion by $1 billion in 2025. That was another red flag. Um, we're looking at also free cash flow dropping in 2024 and 2025, right? By 17.8%. Free cash flow margins fell from 21% in 2024 to 16% in 2025. So those are numbers you can't really like manipulate. That's hard evidence that the core business is starting to see trouble. But again, you start looking at their short-term cash, right? So this was a company that was taking cash and using it to do buyback stocks. So cash dropped from 14 billion in 23 to 10 billion in 24 and kind of stayed there in 2025. So those are some things that really, really hurt the stock. But I just wanted to uh, look at their buybacks. Yeah, they spent over $12 billion on buybacks
Gee.
in the last 2 years so that they can manipulate EPS. So when you start looking at earnings per share and net income, and that's telling one story. But then you start looking at free cash flow and operating cash flow, and that's telling you another story. That's when you got to like sit down and be like, what's really going on here?
Hmm.
So there were signals there, but the biggest obvious signal in 2021 was that the growth rate of the revenue dropped by 10%.
Yep.
So, as an investor, these are just metrics you want to pay attention to if you're a long-term investor so that you really understand what is going on in the business. And
Yep.
nowadays, it's easy because you can just type all this stuff in ChatGPT.
Pretty much. So I think for them, like I said, like either they find a new market or somebody got to buy them because they're a big company. They're not like a tiny company.
No,
So somebody has to buy them.
yeah,
So
new leadership is tasked has a big task because
it's kind of like
we're talking
another case of AMD. I mean,
hmm
not AMD, Intel.
Intel. So
Hmm.
could this be a comeback story? It is possible, but I'm not buying it yet. I'm not
Yeah,
buying it yet. No, no, not yet. So
they're going to get a new leader and then figure out the books and all of that stuff before they can
yeah.
start cleaning stuff up. But yeah, that's a good breakdown though. Let's move on to NVIDIA and OpenAI. So I don't know if you guys remember this. Was it like a few months ago when I think it was NVIDIA decided that they're gonna invest like 100 something billion or something like that in OpenAI? I forgot what the number was. It was a huge number.
I think it was $100 billion commitment. Yes, it was a
Correct.
hundred. Yeah, $100 billion commitment.
Right. But so far, there hasn't been any contract signed so far. There haven't been really any exchange. It was just a news. So everybody's kind of trying to figure out like what is going on. Is there an issue going on between NVIDIA and OpenAI? So let's talk a little bit about that. What friction is happening there and why some Altman is kind of like, on the fence now.
So I listened to what Jensen Wong said yesterday on Mad Money, and he's saying that there's no friction, that they're still good partners, and that everything is overblown. I'm hearing that OpenAI is raising money. NVIDIA is going to help them, is going to be part of that funding round, and they're still going to be doing business. But people were saying that, oh, OpenAI is not happy with NVIDIA's chips. They need more compute. They need all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. But they have kind of squashed that sort of beef that everybody has been talking about. And this came out from a couple reputable sources like Reuters and things like that. So
Mhm.
I don't know if it's them trying to just save face or what's really going on, but from what I understand, OpenAI and NVIDIA, they are in bed with each other. Let's just put it that way. And I think the $100 billion commitment is not something that was going to all happen at once.
Right.
I kind of feel like the way he explained it, that it would be over a certain period of time, it would be progressive. So we'll see how things turn out. Um, OpenAI, I don't know, man. I think I'm gonna have to wait to see the books of the company before I start giving my own opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
But I kind of feel like this is gonna be one of those hype IPOs that might be super, super, super overvalued at the beginning, and it might need to grow into its valuation. That's just my opinion. So,
Mhm.
um, but we'll see though. I really think that again the ecosystem that NVIDIA operates in when it comes to AI, I think they are the foundation. And to uproot that entire relationship because of misconceptions about what was committed versus what wasn't committed and all that stuff. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not really buying that right now, but we'll have to wait
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
see how everything
Mhm.
kind of plays out.
I also think the whole interview, I forgot what interview that Sam Altman did, and somebody was questioning like where they were getting their money from or whatever. And I think that kind of like the way he answered it and how angry he was and his attitude toward it, I think it kind of like threw people for a loop. Like, oh, there's something there. He might have been just frustrated because he probably got the answers that question so many times. He probably just was very frustrated with it. But I think people read into it as like something's going on with that company that he doesn't want people to know. So
Yeah.
again,
Yeah,
it's
when you go public, you got to show your books. So
mhm.
we'll just have to wait and see. But I don't know. I think I don't know. I'm a little bit not that I'm not saying anything is bad going on in the business. I just want to see how they're evaluating the company based on their revenue, their recurring revenue, their debt, and all that stuff. So that's what I want to know. I need to see those
Yep,
books. I need to see
yep,
those books.
yep, yep, yep. But again, it's still one of those most valuable company that came up with something so special that everybody's using now. So it's like, again, it will be good to see exactly. I don't know. We'll see. I think it's actually going to be one of the biggest IPO also, in addition to SpaceX and all that stuff. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
that's another one we're going to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
So, but it will give investors a rare opportunity to be able to like see inside the books, understand exactly what's happening under the hood, and hopefully, we don't find anything terrible down there. But
Like when you're about to
but
buy a house and you do the inspection and the roof is bad, the
the roof
foundation
is
is bad.
bad. If I something is leaking, there's
Yeah.
mold somewhere.
Yeah.
It's just like so. I think that will give all of us a good opportunity to see what's going on under the hood. But other than that, man, let's move on to this week economic calendar. We have a lot of reporting that's happening, but we also having more stuff actually happening this coming week. Tomorrow we have the initial jobless claim. I don't know if he's gonna actually see it because of this brief government shutdown that we're having. I don't know if you're actually going to get the numbers. I don't know. We'll see. Um, it looks like Atlanta Fed President Raphael Bostic is speaking at 10:50 a.m. I also heard that Trump has some type of announcement at 7 p.m. on Thursday. I don't know why it's 7 p.m. Why can't you do it during the afternoon? I have no idea. But I guarantee you it's probably going to be something that's either so minuscule that we're not even going to, it's going to be something so silly, or it's going to be something that's going to move the market. So either way, we'll see tomorrow what he's going to talk about. And then Friday we have the U.S. unemployment rate. Again, that might be delayed also because it's shutdown that we're having right now. So I don't know. I feel like we keep having shutdown every few months now. This makes no sense.
Now, I will say that I think he signed a bill to kind of get things in motion, but I don't know because this government shutdown was a partial shutdown. So I don't know all
Yeah,
the details of
it wasn't
what
entirely
I
up.
don't know what shut down and what was still operating. So again, we don't really know. We're going to get the numbers that we need this
But
Friday. So we'll just have to wait and see how that works out.
yep. But next week we have the CPI numbers coming up. We have consumer price index coming up Wednesday, February 11th at 8:30 a.m. You have the core CPI also coming at the same time. So again, that's another number we can keep an eye on coming out next week. But other than that, man, do you have any other last minute advice or anything you want to share with the folks?
Yeah. So software stocks continue
Yes.
to get hammered. It's a bad look for software stocks now. And
Hmm.
this is what I call indiscriminatory selling. Everybody can get it. I don't care what business you are. You sell software, you getting
Like
smacked.
literally,
Like
literally.
everybody. Like look what happened to Planeteer. Great numbers. And then today sold off by almost, I think it was
Yep.
like 12%.
Yep.
So I just want to remind people that, and I think Jensen Wong also said it today. He said the software sell-off is overdone. And I also agree with that as well.
Absolutely.
That AI is not going to replace all software. I don't think that that's the case.
Mm-mm.
I said this before on our one of our previous shows. AI is not going to replace cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is a need-based business, and I think that AI is going to increase the demand for cybersecurity. So, with that being said, as you start looking at these software companies that are down 30, 40, maybe even 50%. As an investor, this is what you need to start doing is you need to start saying, okay, what business are they in? What are they selling?
Hmm.
Understand that and then understand how does software shake up their business or disrupt their business? Because the reason for yesterday's drop, I don't know if it was Claude or Anthropic, they created a tool that helps like legal professionals, right?
Hmm.
That makes it easier to analyze, I guess, legal documents or whatever. And that sent every software stock down by tremendous percentages. As an investor, I ask myself, how does this legal tool affect a CrowdStrike or a Palo Alto Networks, right? Does that replace their business? Does that make their product less valuable now? And to me, the answer is no.
Hmm.
So Jensen Wong also mentioned that AI is going to use software that already exists as
Exists.
long as there's a need for that software. Now, some of these companies that are selling, um, I guess, good to have tools, not need to have tools, I think those are going to be the businesses that may fall off by the wayside, right? Are you
Hmm.
selling something or a product or service that businesses are going to look at, oh, that's a nice to have, not that I need that? Some of these nice to have products might fall off.
Hmm.
I agree that there might be some shakeups there, but I will say this and I will stand on this. Cybersecurity is a need to have business because if you don't have it, your business can get shut down at the blink of an eye. So, with that being said, now, are all cybersecurity companies made equal? Absolutely not. I don't think
Hmm.
so. So, if you're going to look at a cybersecurity company that is down big, understand their business. What place do they play in? What do they do? The two biggest names in this space that I think have Teflon balance sheets, CrowdStrike and Palo Alto Networks are probably the biggest businesses in that space. There are a couple other small players in there, like your Twilios and your Fortinites and things like that, that also play in that space. Understand the business and understand who their customers are and what they do, and that will give you an idea of how to find good gems as these companies are dropping. Now, are we near the bottom? I don't know. Who
Hmm.
knows?
You're right, right.
I don't know. But if you ask me, if we rewind or fast forward 3 or 4 or 5 years from now, will these companies still be trading at these same levels? I'd probably say no. So I will leave it at that, those parting words that yes, there's a software sell off. Everybody knows it. But where can you find opportunity? There's opportunity out there. And I will say this, we talked about PayPal. When you're investing and looking at these companies and their data, EPS is something you can manipulate. One thing you cannot
Hmm.
manipulate is cash flow. So I would spend a lot of time on the cash flow statement and look at trends and see, are these good core businesses to invest in? The income statement, I think that there's good information there. The balance sheet, I think there's good information there because you want to look at companies that are not highly leveraged or need a lot of debt to grow. But the cash flow statement to me is where you will find the best information to decide, is this a business I want to invest in? So I'll leave people with those
Facts,
parting words.
facts, facts, facts. And I think you hit it on the head, man. It's like we don't know how long this is going to take, but
Nope.
the software business, I don't think. Yeah, I agree. Like this, the sell-off that we see right now is probably like one is overdue, and one is like, I mean, we needed some people to take profit. If you look at all these companies that's being sell off right now, a lot of them they've been running all for the last year. So again, that might be some profit taken in there also. So
Yeah. And I also
I,
want to say this. Remember that whole DeepSeek thing? Everybody was talking about how DeepSeek was going to make AI chips cheaper and Nvidia is
yeah,
going to. What
you hear
happened?
nothing about it now. You hear nothing about it.
We're a year from that.
Yeah,
And Nvidia continued to do what they did. So sometimes things get overblown. You got to read through the noise. You got to put on your investor hat. You got to do your homework.
yeah,
So, and there's a couple names out there that I like. I'm in two that are down. I added today. I'm down, I think 16% on one now, and I think like 19% on another.
mhm.
I just got a notification that one of my positions is up 5% after hours. So I like that. So
Nice, nice, nice.
we'll see how it works out. But software is not dead. Trust me on that.
No, it's not. But with that being said, I mean, there's opportunities. There's opportunities in the sell-off. So all you got to do is sort of figure out, where you should position yourself. And with that being said, man, stay sharp, stay disciplined. We'll see you guys on Friday for another market rundown. Have a good night.